Has M. Night Shyamalan ever seen a movie before?
That's a good question. I think the better question though is, has M. Night Shyamalan ever felt the warmth of a woman? Because I don't think so, right? I'm pretty
He's
sure
never
nah.
fucked?
I don't think so. I don't think he has ever entered. I
M.
think
Night
never once in
Shyamalan.
his life.
He doesn't have a
Is he
wife?
married?
I thought he had a wife.
Well, even if he has a wife, I'm sure she doesn't let him.
Oh, it's like an arranged marriage type thing.
Yeah. Would you though?
Did
Like,
though.
they have a kid?
Yeah.
There's something fishy going on in M. Night Shyamalan's house, because there is no way that man
Tonight.
his like his knowledge on how sexuality works is just absolutely backwards. So I just must assume he has never experienced it.
It's possible he's never fucked. Anyway, welcome to the Movie Epidemic podcast. I'm your host, Buck Hollywood LeDuc. You can follow me on Twitter at LastCoolDude. I'm joined, as always, by Charlie J. Fox, always late.
I was not late. Was I late?
No, you're on time, actually.
You son of a bitch. You're dragging my name through the dirt. So today we're going to be talking about some fantastic stuff, just some great movie shows, some movie films. We're going to try and figure out if M. Night Shyamalan is in fact back with his new movie Split, starring James McAvoy. Ooh, that one's a ride. And then we're going to be talking about X-Men 3: The Last Stand, continuing on our X-Men voyage towards our viewing of Logan. And then, of course, we're going to end it off by talking about the new Werner Herzog, dude. Werner Herzog might be back. He's only been doing docs lately.
Herzog.
Remember that documentary about the volcano?
People tell me about the animes, and it is an art form that I have never explored. So I think that in the future I will create an anime with a full team of Japanese artists.
Is that something Werner Herzog actually said?
No, but like, I think if you ever mentioned anime to him, he'd be into it.
He'd be like, "Yeah, I'm down. I'm down." I mean, he was in that fucking weird anime with JGL and Johnny K.
Oh, that's right. He was in an anime film. So, okay.
Yeah, he totally was. The Wind Rises. That's actually a pretty good fucking movie too. Werner, and he's doing the
Werner Herzog, and I like to walk outside for 14 days and film movies in the desert. Welcome to the Movie Epidemic podcast. What are we talking about first here, Chadley?
Why don't we jump right into the old M. Night Shyamalan ding dong? So we've talked about it before. Last time M. Night Shyamalan made a movie, everybody was screaming, "Hey, M. Night is back!" And that was, what was that called? The Guest, The Judge,
the Visit.
The Visit.
We did watch it
yeah.
both. We did watch the Judge, and I told you to watch The Guest last week, so I could see where you got those ideas from.
Yeah, everything just blends together, especially when it's just one word titles with The Gift with Jason Sudeikis, Jason Lee. No, wait, who's in that? Jason Bateman.
That's Jason Bateman, dawg.
Jason Lee. Jason Lee doesn't even work anymore, dude.
Jason Lee, no work.
He's retired. He just built himself a skate park in his backyard, and he just does that all day now.
I can't imagine he has a nice house. He probably doesn't have a nice house, right?
No, I imagine not. I imagine it's like one of them wood.
Hey, does he have the house from My Name Is Earl?
You know what? There was no house in My Name Is Earl. He lived in a motel.
That's right.
That's right. Good. And then his wife lived in a trailer. So he might have that house actually.
Yeah.
That would actually make a little bit of sense. But he's probably getting some Alvin and the Chipmunks fuck you money, right? Like
wacky M. Night Shyamalan. That's that shit I do like. That shit I do like.
Is this the shit you do like? Because before we go into this, I think I can confirm M. Night Shyamalan is in fact not back.
Oh, I think this is fine. I would venture a guess this is the third best thing he's ever made.
I mean, yep, but it's still not very good. Look, M. Night Shyamalan was touted to be the next Steven Spielberg after Sixth Sense and Unbreakable dropped, and which, by the way, I still have never seen Unbreakable.
It's literally the only thing that he's ever made that's 5 stars. Like, you should need to watch it.
Yeah, I should definitely check out Unbreakable. But after that, I don't know. Did he suffer like brain damage or something? Because after that, he's like, here's Signs in The Village. And then everyone was like, oh, maybe this guy is not
I'm
the
gonna
next
guess that
Spielberg.
those other ones were lucky busts.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what else he made? He made like Last Airbender. Toted is one of the worst films of all time.
The
Um,
Village, The Happening.
The
Uh,
Visit, which people like for some reason, and I just do not understand. Um,
well,
maybe I think
if you
maybe,
like The
but
Visit,
yeah,
you dumb. Lady in the Water. Um,
the lady. What did he do? Like The Happening? Is that him? Is that a
yeah,
Shyamalan original?
I
Yeah.
mentioned that one.
So yeah, obviously this dude's not he's not having the best streak of his life, essentially. He was put on this pedestal where he was like, oh, in that case, I can just make whatever I want. And turns out what he wants to make is no good. And so now I think he's sort of coming back to his roots, trying to figure out what people want from him
See
rather than what he wants from himself.
now Split here. This is about multiple personalities. Pretty good concept actually.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. It's wacky.
I've always liked the split personality stuff. They mention a lot in this movie that there's 23 different personalities. I chose like 3.5. So
Yeah. Yeah.
here's the thing: lazy even for M Night Shyamalan.
even for Shyamalan, that's pretty shocking. So essentially, what this movie is about is that we have this crazy guy played by James McAvoy, who, by the way, goes 100% in this movie, and he takes this 100% seriously as well, as if it's not the most ridiculous thing he's ever read, which in fact it is.
That's why it works, though. That's why I think
Yeah.
it works.
What's crazy about
It's
this,
not
like,
even it's not even just McAvoy. It's literally everyone in this movie are taking it 100% serious, and that's so wild that it actually works.
Before we actually talk about what this movie is about, I did want to mention something about James McAvoy. He's taking it 100% seriously, but he actually is really good in this movie. Like, surprisingly good in the fact that you can always tell who he's trying to be based on like whatever caricature. Yeah, it's caricature work, 100%. Like he walks in with a dress and he goes, ooh, and you're like, all right, it's Patricia now. All right.
Hello. Is this Miss fucking
Hello.
Mrs. Doubtfire shit?
Yeah. He walks in with like a fucking like a button up with the rolled up sleeves. You can tell that he's probably Dennis, and he's gonna be like, all right, listen here, you stupid bitches. You know, like he's gonna yell around a little bit. And then when he's straight up acting like clearly a retard, then you're like, oh, he's Hedwig now, the 9-year-old kid. That's great. And then when he is acting flamboyantly homosexual, that's when you're like, oh, okay, Barry on screen now.
Powerful Barry.
So those are essentially the four personalities that you get to see throughout the movie. I think each of them is actually interesting in their own right, with the exception of Patricia and Dennis, token bad guys. Not interesting. Mm-hmm. Hedwig on the other hand, like it's so weird to be talking about all these characters as if they're a completely different thing. But truly, James McAvoy is simultaneously the protagonist and the antagonist of this movie.
Sort of.
Hedwig is a really good character. Barry's a pretty good character. And then you got Patricia and Dennis, and they're just, they bad guys. So like the idea of this movie is that this guy with his split personalities has kidnapped a bunch of teenage girls, which, by the way, M. Night Shyamalan, why are you sexualizing 15-year-old girls? Please stop. It makes me extremely uncomfortable.
I just want to, I know we have a lot of weird listeners. If you have anyone trapped in your basement, let the boys go.
Yeah, let them go.
Let them go.
So he kidnaps, what is it? Three young girls, 3 teenage girls. And those characters are the main characters of the movie, and we don't care. Like, they're really uninteresting and
Here's the thing about these ones. We don't care.
Little.
Not only do we not care, don't know difference between them. Could have had one.
Yeah.
Would have been fine.
Yeah, they're all good. There's like one that's like a shy girl who's like, because like they're kidnapped from their friend's birthday party, and one of them was like, oh, I gotta invite that bitch because I invited everyone else in the class, and if I don't invite her, the hella mean. And like her dad made her invite her. So we got that girl who's like not popular. Yeah, and then you got like
she was molested or something by her uncle, which is, it's very unclear. But
oh yeah, the uncle thing where he's trying to get her to play animals with the clothes off. Yeah, it gets really weird. But then you got like token white rich girl. that's fine. She does what she does pretty aptly. None of the actresses of these three characters are very good. And then you get sort of just like a also very privileged but clearly not as privileged half black girl. Who again, like she plays her role aptly. She's a spoiled rich girl, and she does that. Again, this is not where the movie is interesting. Every second that it focuses on these characters, wildly uninteresting. I don't care. I was every second of the movie, I was just really waiting for some more James McAvoy. It's like it's fucking bananas, this movie. Like I need to make that abundantly clear. This movie is absolutely bonkers.
Yeah. It's when you have this content and you go wild with it. You know what we like about wild shit.
It gets bonkers, dude.
Yeah, it gets bonkers, and that's that shit we do like.
It's like a roller coaster of craziness. And there's a part in the movie that's like my favorite part of the movie where she finds a computer that has like video diary entries from all the different 23 personalities. And I'm like, ooh, this is the content I have indeed been waiting for.
Batman versus Superman style.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, just show it on a computer. You don't need to actually make content.
Is
so
that
the reason
thing
he
now, just showing shit on, just showing lazy filmmaking, just showing shit on a computer. Like that's just the new thing.
It used to be exposition through a newscast, but nobody watches the news anymore. So now it's exposition through computer screen now.
Gotcha.
Finding info on a computer screen. So he kidnaps these girls because apparently there is some monster called the Beast who is coming. He is the 24th personality. And when he comes, he needs to eat little girls as a sacrifice.
Yeah. Now, this is where it gets a little confusing to me. Like, up until this point, I'm like, all right, I'm on board. I'll let you have any of this stuff because why not? Turns into Beast. But he eats their calf muscles. Why does he eat their calf muscles?
Yeah, why gotta do that? Why not just eat the whole thing?
Dumb fuck him. He eats the calf muscles.
The thing is that he kidnapped 3 and he eats the calf muscles of 2 of them, and it's like, why not just kidnap 1 and just eat the whole thing? You know, like I feel like that it would also be a much easier way to keep them quiet because they can't, work as a team to try and escape. Which they do. Here's the thing, is that the moment I realized this was the craziest movie I've ever seen is like there's a part in this movie where James McAvoy, he's in the personality of like the 9-year-old kid, the Hedwig, and he's like, you want to come to my bedroom and watch me dance? I got a boombox by my window. And she's like, ooh, yeah, window.
My favorite part is when he's like, Kanye, he's my boy. I'm like,
yeah. So he brings this girl up to his bedroom and then plays Kanye. And I swear to God, it's like uninterrupted, like 3 minutes of uninterrupted James McAvoy dancing around, clearly like somebody who has never danced once in his life. And it's like at that point, like I'm looking around in the theater, I'm seeing if anybody else is as bewildered as I am. It's bonkers, dude.
Yeah. It's interesting that there is like a couple good moments in this that I find, like when they pull out his original person and he's like, who did this? What is this?
Yeah.
I just think McAvoy is good. So like there are moments.
McAvoy is good.
There are moments like
he's not like
Okay, go ahead.
The image, like there's a lot of really good imagery in this movie, I think, and just like a lot of really good scenes. Specifically like when he's talking to because he's got like a counselor clearly, and I thought like the counselor was gonna end up like only having one client and it being him, and that's what I was really hoping for, honestly, was that the counselor only had one client and it was him.
Oh, I was hoping that it would be him also. I was hoping everybody in this movie would also be him. I wanted it to be even more wacky with the characters. I wanted it to be
certainly felt
all
like
of these people, like, because that's an M. Night Shyamalan twist where it's like, oh no, everybody in this is him.
Well, the M. Night Shyamalan twist in this one is like, oh yeah, he's
here it is. I think they all are him, and it's the one girl that survived. Boom. Now that's
Shit.
an M. Night Shyamalan twist right there. How about that?
Now there's a twist that we deserve. Come on, M. Night. You got to work on your game. But like the twist in this one is like it's barely even there, which is crazy. But there's two like mini twists, I guess you could call them. And like this movie's been out for a couple of months now, so we'll throw them out there. Why not? Who gives a shit?
Mhm.
You probably don't really even want to see this movie anyways, if I'm being honest. The first mini twist is that when he actually does have a 24th personality, and it's a supervillain.
It's literally a
And it's
scary
like
monster.
it's a scary monster, and like he becomes like invincible and can like jump around like Beast from X-Men, and you're sitting there and you're like, okay, this was pretty grounded. It just kicked right off the rails at this point.
Well, when he starts climbing on the walls and shit, I'm like, okay, we're back. This is shit I do like.
All right. It's like you were losing me for a second there, M. Night Shyamalan, but I'm right back on board.
Mm-hmm.
But then the second twist comes like right at the end of the movie. Essentially, they end up capturing this guy and taking him to jail, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is crazy. It sort of sounds like such and such a case." And then you pan over, and there's Bruce Willis sitting at the table, and he's like, "Oh, you mean like
jail? What the fuck are you talking about?
Did they not take him to jail?"
He gets away. But he gets away at the end. And he starts talking
you're right.
to himself.
You're right. He does get away. So they're looking for him. They're searching for him. And then like at a diner, these people are like, this is like such and such a case from 15 years ago. And then they pan over and it's Bruce Willis as the character from Unbreakable. And it's like, is the twist that this was a sequel to Unbreakable? That's the full on twist? Are you serious, M. Night Shyamalan? Yeah. That's one of the wackiest moves you've ever pulled. Here's the thing. Here's what made me mad is that, like I mentioned earlier, I've never seen this movie, so M. Night Shyamalan tricked me into watching a sequel to a movie I'd never seen. If I knew this was an Unbreakable sequel, might have checked out Unbreakable before I saw this. But nope, I got tricked, and I don't appreciate being tricked. M. Night Shyamalan, come on the show, defend yourself.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have anything to do with that movie, so it doesn't really matter, does it?
Well, like, from what I understand, Unbreakable is sort of like a superhero universe, right?
Yeah.
Is that correct? Well, that would almost in some way explain the Beast thing in my mind. And that's sort of what I think that
doesn't matter because it's a universe where there's only Mr. Glass and he's barely a superhero. It's not really like a superhero movie. Like fucking Bruce Willis isn't a superhero. He's just a fucking guy.
Yeah, he's just a guy. But like in a universe where something like Mr. Glass can exist, it would also make sense that something like 24th personality Beastman could exist, I guess.
Yeah, okay. Maybe. Or maybe it's just a fucking world where Beastman can exist. Why does it matter?
Because that's my thing is like the whole movie, it's like it's so grounded and it feels pretty realistic, and then all of a sudden he's climbing walls and I'm like, wait, what's going on now?
Why do like
how's he doing
that's first twist though.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. It's wild. This movie's wild. Honestly, I don't think I would recommend this movie.
I think fucking Bruce Willis has super strength too, if I recall. So it's like the same as
recall. Yeah.
Same guy, same thing.
Okay. All right. So I mean, it's in a universe where a Beastman could exist, that's for sure. But like, I don't think I would recommend this movie. I'll be honest, I don't think I liked it very much. I found myself just like
there's never a point I didn't enjoy it.
There are like times when I'm like laughing my ass off though, like when James McAvoy walks in with a dress and he's like spot a T, and I'm like, oh Jesus, that's good content. Like it's unintentionally hilarious.
Yeah.
Which I don't think that's what M. Night Shyamalan was going for, but it's the reason I went. It's the only reason I went.
I think that's part of the M. Night Shyamalan charm, is because you know that whether or not it's going to be the best movie of all time or the worst movie of all time, it's going to be preposterous.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking at this, Buck LeDuc and I decided we were going to take a look at some movie characters and try and figure out if him and I had split personalities, who would we want our split personalities to be? So we made a top 5 people I want to be in my split personality bank. Why don't you start us off? What's your number 5? Who would you like to be?
My number 5, I want Marky Mark's character from Transformers Age of Extinction because he's a strong nerd or something. I don't really know, but he's one of the greatest characters in cinematic history. So
what's great about that character is that he's buff as hell, strong as hell, can do parkour, and he seemingly had to work for none of that.
Yeah.
he
doesn't even go to the gym once in that film.
Yeah, absolutely. So my number 5, I do have like a huge need and want to be a famous person. So my number 5 is Truman Burbank because first of all, I love the paranoia. I absolutely love the paranoia. And second of all, I love the idea that everybody is filming my every move at all times for entertainment. That seems like a good bit to me.
Interesting.
Truman Burbank.
So part of it is that you have his split personality. You're also on his TV show.
Yes, I would inherit the TV show.
Okay,
because like that's the thing is that Truman was a paranoid person, but he was also correct in his paranoia. So if I feel like I could take in that correctness as well.
My number 5. I am consciousness. I am alive. I am Chappie.
Oh shit, dude, that's such a good pick. I would love to be Chappie, dude.
Yeah.
You fucking transfer your brain and live forever, dude.
He's an insane robot man. And if I believe I'm an insane robot man, I'm an insane robot man. So fuck you, Chappie no kill.
Yeah, Chappie no kill, Chappie no heist. That's the only downside is that you would be unable to heist for the rest of your life.
That's true. No more heist.
Which is the downside. My number 4, I would love to be a cheeky cunt who likes to take down Iron Man. So my number 4 is Justin Hammer.
Justin, the Hammer.
Justin Hammer. I wanted to have a Rockwell character on there because I'm like, man, nobody is goofier and sassier than Sam Rockwell in everything. So I just picked one. I was like, up against Iron Man, I could do that.
Yeah, I love crippling depression. So my number 3 is Llewyn Davis from Inside Llewyn Davis, and I'd be good at guitar.
Yeah, you could be good at guitar, and you have a cat. You'd have like a really sick cat.
True.
But not like a cat like in your house, one that you carry around like a tote bag. And that's a good thing, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my number 3, I'm absolutely fascinated by the human body, and I feel like I would be even more so fascinated by my own body if I were Seth Brundle.
Oh my god.
Brundlefly. Dude, I would love to be Seth Brundle, the Brundlefly. Because as my body morphs into a fly human man, I would be able to, in any personality that I have, be able to document it. But of course, the Seth Brundle thing, I love his cockiness. Like when he starts, he goes to like clubs and he's like arm wrestling dudes and breaking their arms and stuff. I would love to pull shit like that.
Absolutely.
I want to hurt people.
So my number 2 is the man with no name from The Man with the Iron Fists. This is Riz's character from The Man with the Iron Fists. Because
I feel like I've seen this movie, but maybe I haven't.
I guarantee you haven't, because it's the most, it's the craziest movie of all time, and you would have remembered. Essentially, he's a rapper, but also sort of a samurai, but also sort of a blacksmith who made his fists out of iron. So fucking awesome.
That's absolutely perfect. My number 2. I just kind of want to be smart, but I also want my intelligence to be useful for something. So my number 2 is I want to be Q, and not crybaby Q. I want to be old, crazy, sassy as hell, eating a sandwich ass Q. That's the Q I want to be. Desmond Llewellyn, baby, for life.
That's that good content. Now, I was thinking about putting another Marky Mark character on my list, but I amended it last minute to change it to The Rock's character from Pain and Gain, because I love cocaine and I love being a wild man. So
that was your number 1? Here's the thing: is that our number ones have a similarity, a major similarity. Apparently, both of us really, really, really want to be addicted to drugs in our lifetime. My number one is Raoul Duke from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I just want to be tripping for the rest of my life. That's all I want.
Absolutely.
I just want to be tripping. Yeah. So apparently Buckley Duke and we should get help, maybe? I don't know.
That's for the viewers to decide. You can tweet at me at Less Cool Dude if you think we need help.
Absolutely. Or you could tweet at me at Chadley the Movie. So, want to talk about the X-Men?
Yeah.
Part 3. We're on part 3. We're on part 3 of however many how we need to watch.
Did you even watch this one? Because you're like, I'm gonna go watch this, and then I watched half of a Dave Chappelle special, and you're like, yeah, I'm done. I'm like, how's
Yo,
that
that's a. All right, we'll roll into that first. This one's really short. This one's like super short. It's like an hour and 40 minutes. It's like an hour and 40, and which is crazy. Well, no, it's short because 1 and 2 are like 2.5 hour films. So like, this one is
maybe this one's like maybe a little shorter.
Got to be 2:15 at least. 2:15 for 1 and 2.
Fuck out of here. 1 and 2 aren't 2:15.
They're 2:15.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
2:15 each, dude. But anyway, so this movie's like 140, an hour 40, maybe an hour 45. This one is often panned as being like the worst of the original trilogy, which is true. Yeah. Which is absolutely true.
To me, it's not as offensively bad as I remembered.
Yeah, that's sort of like, to me, I feel like it's the Spider-Man 3 thing. It's like when it first came out, everyone was like,
Spider-Man 3 is better than this.
Yeah, I totally agree. But like when this came out, everyone's like, oh, this is terrible. And then like 15 years later, it's like, it's still not great, but like I see the merit.
First X-Men is the exact same length as X-Men 3. And
is it actually?
Is 210, so you're pretty close on that one.
I was pretty close to 210, but I thought the first one was longer than that. But anyway,
literally 104 minutes, both of them.
So X-Men 3, like here's the thing, is that this is clearly the worst of the original trilogy, but like it still has some really good stuff. Like there's some great stuff in here.
There's some good content, but there's also a lot of shitty content.
I completely agree, but let's talk about the good stuff for like a minute. That's how long it's gonna take to get through the good stuff. First things first, Kelsey Grammer as Hank McCoy. Give me that for the rest of my fucking life. That's fantastic stuff.
I'm surprised the Beast never got like a spin-off movie where he was just like in Congress, like as a fucking congressman or something. Like that's what they need to do now that they're doing like these wild little spin-off films. Make one where he's just a congressman. How good would that be?
That's what I want to see. There's also just some really good scenes in this one, like some really good imagery. One of my favorite pieces of imagery in this movie is like when they get what's his name? Ian McKellen. They get Magneto with the cure, and like you sort of see it leave his eyes. Ian McKellen is just that good of an actor. You sort of see the mutation leave his eyes. Like that is really good imagery. And like even like the picking up the Golden Gate Bridge and like attaching it to Alcatraz.
I would say it's definitely the best looking of the original trilogy for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. The special effects are fantastic. Not to mention, I love Dark Phoenix. Dark Phoenix is like one of my favorite villains, and I'm so happy that Dark Phoenix was so prominent as a villain in this movie. Mm-hmm. Probably right up there with Magneto. But then therein lies my first problem with the movie. Okay, you got Dark Phoenix as the main villain. Mm-hmm. Magneto's helping her out. That's great. That's great. And then it's like, okay, but we also have like 19 or 20 side villains, and like a couple of them are interesting.
Yeah,
and
there's a lot
the
in
rest
this
of them.
I do like the dynamic of this one though, where in the beginning of the first one, it starts off with, like reminding you that Magneto was in the camps and stuff.
Nazi camps, yeah.
And then he turns into like a Mussolini type dictator in this one, which is I think is an interesting dynamic for that character, as well as like the main plot line of this one is that they have the mutant cure, and it's not as black and white as listen though. It's not it's not as black and white as you would make it in some other films, whereas some of them want it. Like it's not completely evil, whereas that's what they want you to.
Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. I absolutely get it. But here's my counterpoint, okay? The Cure plotline is really stupid. The Cure plotline is really, really dumb.
I don't think that's true. I think that adds a dynamic that they've been looking for, especially when it's now that mutants are like Hank McCoy on the Council of Mutants. on the government council. They're integrating.
Yeah, you no longer have like the civil rights sort of plot lines that you could have in the previous films, because now mutants are generally accepted by the general public at this point in time. But bringing in the cure, maybe it was the best thing that they could do. Yes, I agree. Maybe it's the best thing they can do. But the conflict where it's like, oh, we don't like the cure is like crazy to me because it's voluntary. So it's like, all these people who are like, oh, we don't like the cure. It's like, of course you don't fucking like the cure. You don't got to get it. But like, of course you don't like the cure. You got a cool power.
That's literally the same thing as what the abortion debate that is happening right now in the U.S. It's the same thing. It's a realistic, I guess so. It's a realistic gray area.
I guess so, but there's religious connotations to the abortion thing that I think, okay, you know what? I'll leave it. I'll leave that. You know what? I feel like you made a good point with the abortion thing. That's actually a good parallel to pull out. At the beginning of the movie, they do. What's that?
You dare call that?
Dare call that thing? At the beginning of the movie, they make a really good call right off the bat. They kill Cyclops. I was like,
yeah, oh, it's my favorite.
That's a great call because that character sucks. I don't like James Marsden that much. He's like one of those guys. Like, I think I've mentioned it before. It's like, I'm not mad when I see him, but like, I still don't want to see him.
And then slightly later, they make the worst decision in the franchise of killing off old Charles Xavier.
Yeah, absolutely. But the one thing that bothered me is like the geography for this movie is like kind of weird. Cause like, first of all, you got Cyclops who drives a motorbike, I swear to Christ, from Manchester to BC, and they like British Columbia, and they act as if it's nothing. And it's like, wait, that's like a 3-week trip there. Maybe not a 3-week trip, but that's like a week-long trip there. He would have had to stay in hotels and like stopped at like McDonald's on the way. I'm like, we're not gonna discuss that. All right, that's fine. But the part of the geography that makes the least amount of sense to me is that there's a part in this movie where obviously like Magneto has set up his base in like the middle of some forest, and then like Logan is at the school, Charles Xavier's gifted youngsters school, and he's like looking at the grave of Charles Xavier, and then he hears the girl, and obviously she's talking to him telekinetically, and he's like, oh, I better go and find her, and then he just fucking walks into the woods, and he walks to the base, and it's like, what are you telling me that Magneto built a villain base within walking distance to Charles Xavier's school for gifted youngsters? What? That seems like a bad plan.
Okay. Maybe.
It's within walk. I mean, he might have sprinted there, but
I mean, like, you understand like the geography of upper New York State. It's forest, so
yeah,
he probably would be in there somewhere, and Wolverine mutants, so probably could run there technically. I guess so. There's something. Well, because I'm pretty sure the Mutant X base is supposed to be in like Kananaskis in Alberta, so like obviously you can't fucking ride a motorcycle there. So you got that one for sure. But like, I mean, maybe you just had a mutant base like outside of New York or whatever, right? I mean,
all right, yeah. You know what? He's supposed to be like an animal man. All right, you know what? I'll let you have that one too. I'll give you that one. I think the big problem with this movie is that like the teams are kind of dumb. Like I mentioned earlier, you got Magneto and Dark Phoenix, and that's great. And then like their side villains, which is like Pyro, who's just kind of there to be there. But those
like leather bitches is what I call them.
Yeah, the leather bitches. There's one that like doesn't do anything the entire movie, and it's like the Shockwave one. And like you don't know what her power is, you don't know what's up with that girl. And then like right at the very end, it's like, oh, they have plastic guns. Good thing we have a person here who can destroy those. And it's like, oh, convenient, I guess. I was unaware.
There's one guy, the Asian guy, that just shoots quill or like has coils that come out. Like, what is that guy? I've never heard of that guy before.
And the only time he's useful at all is when he's hugging somebody that he wants to kill. It's like, you just gonna hug everybody you want to kill? That seems bizarre.
Now, I did listen to the commentary of this with our boy Brett Ratner.
Ooh, give me some nugs.
He's seems like a cool guy, honestly. Like, I get why he owns the Rat Pack, which has made the most money out of any production company in the last 2 years. So I get it. Seems like a cool guy. I'd like to hang out with him. If he was like, hey man, you want to fund this Batman movie for $300 billion? I'd be like, okay, you seem like a good dude. Probably not fucking me over at all with this fucking new Batman movie. But yeah, he seems super cool hanging out with his writers. They do mention like every single thing that they fit into this movie is actually from a comic. So like almost every single shot has like some sort of comic reference. And I think the fact that they spent so much time doing that, they forgot to actually make it good.
They were so dedicated. They're like, this has to be a shot for shot of this comic panel. It needs to be identical.
There is a lot of comic book references in this. Whether or not they connect together very well, not really, but the fact that there is like a lot of, like, he actually tried. Like, Brett Ratner, not a good director. But
what I think
he tried.
I think one of the bigger problems of this movie too is that, like, I feel like there isn't like, unlike the first two movies, there's not really a relationship between the X-Men in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Where in like the first two, it's like you got the relationship between Jean and Wolverine and Cyclops and Storm, and then this one they're just like, all right, so let's just
it is a hodgepodge of so many characters, right? You got the fucking Wing guy, you got like all the new X-Men, like the Ellen Page, and you got you just got so many people. Like, it's just like so packed with people. It's just like it's hard to keep track of anything.
And then, yeah, the actual X-Men in this movie, like the actual team is comprised of Wolverine, Storm, Beast.
Is this the one where at the beginning they have that training room game with Cyclops, or I mean with the Colossal?
Yeah. Where it's like
oh, that scene's so good, dude.
Yeah, where it's like they're inside of a thing, like a little game, like a video game.
Yeah, training room, and then Colossus throws Wolverine onto the fucking robot thing.
Onto the Sentry, yeah. That's pretty good stuff. But like again, like Colossus, much like the last movie, he just sort of shows up when he's necessary, and he doesn't really have a character. At one point, somebody called him Pete, and I'm like, oh, that guy's got a name. Crazy.
Yeah.
And then, like, yeah, he's just a big Russian guy. And then like Iceman actually is a pretty decent-ish character. He's got a really good. Yeah, the thing that's weird about this movie though is that it's like he's sort of torn between these two women that he likes. He wants, obviously he's in love with Rogue, but he can't kiss her. But like, yeah, he likes Kitty Pryde as well, less, but he can fuck her, right? So
but you can fuck her. That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's you gotta weigh the options there. Let's talk about Kitty Pryde, because this is my least favorite X-Men ever, dude. I hate Kitty Pryde. She is so fucking useless. First of all, Ellen Page, no thank you, never. Second of all, they have
now. You like her more or less now that she's a lesbian?
The same, probably, which is still not at all. And then there's like this big issue with this movie where you got they picked her. Of all the people in this academy, they're like, all right, you're going to be part of the X-Men. And then they bring her to do combat. And in a combat scenario, this bitch is useless, dude. She's absolutely useless.
There's a good one where she puts the Juggernaut bitch into the cement. That's a pretty good move.
Oh, speaking of which, why are we getting a funny British guy to play Juggernaut and then giving him 3 lines?
Hey, you know where he got that "I'm the Juggernaut" bitch from? Some fucking meme video on YouTube. I'm not even joking. He was fucking Brett Ratner was watching like some video about like some dudes that were overdubbing the original fucking cartoon, and they're like, "I'm the Juggernaut, bitch," and Brett Ratner's like, "Okay, well we're lifting that."
You know, the people who made that probably
like in the commentary.
He's like, yeah, I stole this bit from some kids on YouTube who had 90 subscribers. Oh, dude, that's absolutely incredible. But the joke, like here's the thing, is that like his first line of dialogue is like, "Let me out, I'm gonna take a piss," and you're like, this guy's gonna be great. This is gonna be great. And then his second line of dialogue is "I'm the Juggernaut, bitch," and then like that's every line of dialogue. It's like we could have had this guy do some funny stuff.
Well,
Why was he not doing
one of my
funny
favorite
stuff?
dudes of all time? It's fucking Vinny Jones. Like you can't really tell because he's fucking
the footballer.
yeah, fucking lock stock, my boy. Fucking, he's just so good. I love Vinny Jones.
Yeah, Vinny Jones. Vinny Jones is good, dude.
He's in so many like you know, on Netflix when like you're super drunk and you just come home and you're like, oh man, I could watch something on Netflix right now, and you see like any movie where it's like a guy in like sort of like armor and holding an assault rifle, and it's just like some B movie where it's like just dudes shooting at each other. Vinny Jones is in literally 200 of those fucking movies.
And they're all on Netflix. Oh, dude, that's awesome.
Anytime I see like a flash of Vinny Jones on like the cover on something on Netflix, and I'm like 8 beers deep, I'm like, I'm watching this. This is gonna be fantastic.
Yeah. I really like that character though, and I was hoping that he would do some more stuff.
But again, there's just so much people.
Yeah. Mystique again wasted in this movie because they cure her or whatever right away. And then later on in the movie, she sells them out, but then also kind of doesn't because they have a decoy base. And it's like, I don't even know what's going on anymore. And here's the even better question. Okay, so Mystique sold them out. She had to have still been working for Magneto, right? Because otherwise, how would they know that the government knew where their secret base was? For them to have the, again, another cheeky, funny character whose name did not appear in the film, who like can multiply himself.
Yeah.
They might have said his name, but they might have said his name when they introduced him, but like
probably not though.
Yeah, I think it was yeah.
Honestly, I feel like there's a lot of shit cut out of this movie because sometimes shit just happens back to back.
Yeah. And they just like introduce a character and then they're just like, all right, so that's the character, but don't worry about it because we're not really going to use it. Like they spent more time introducing that character who can multiply himself than he is in the movie.
That's true.
It's bonkers. And I just feel like it's super backwards. But once again, there are some great action sequences in this movie. The action sequence where Dark Phoenix is tearing apart that house.
Sure. Good stuff.
Oh my God.
That's a really good scene, actually.
One of my favorite parts about that scene is like Magneto is like, don't let anybody into this house under any circumstance. And then Wolverine starts walking towards the house. Juggernaut picks him up, literally throws him into the house. And it's like, you had one job. You really had one job.
You know, at the beginning of this one, when there's like the Stan Lee cameo.
Yeah.
Right before that is like another cameo. I believe it was like the guy with the lawnmower. That guy also wrote like some sort of X-Men thing, like, and he's one of those guys that just goes under the radar because no one really knows what he looks like, right?
Oh, dude, that's a deep cut and a good catch. Deep cut and a good catch. Ultimately, I'd say if you're watching the Trill, if you're watching the trilogy,
watch the Trill for sure.
Sure, watch this one. But like, if you're really just looking for the good X-Men ones, you could probably just jump right on over this one. The only thing you need to know is that this movie annoys me for a few different reasons. Some of the stuff that they do, they are like completely dedicated. Like some of the events in this movie, they're completely dedicated. And then some of them, they're totally not. So they just straight up like fucking Marvel Cinematic Universe it and buy back deaths, which makes me so mad. Because like I think it's like the Wolverine, just Charles Xavier rolls up and you're like, oh, I was pretty sure you were dead, but that's okay. It's X-Men rules. So nobody gives a shit. Right?
X-Men rules.
Yeah, X-Men rules. But then, like with this one, once again, you have like the cure thing where they cure the people. I
don't even remember how Xavier comes back. I just know he does. So
I guess they don't explain it. I don't think they explain it. I'm pretty sure they don't. I'm pretty sure at the end of Wolverine, he just rolls up and he's like, "Guess what?" And we're like, "Oh, okay." But again, like another thing that they're not going to dedicate themselves to is like when they stab Magneto with the fucking cure or whatever. And then they have the scene at the end of the movie. And like, I swear to God, it's like moving the dirt at the end of Batman versus Superman where Ian McKellen's he's sitting there and he moves the metal chess pieces with his hands. That is the most offensive way you could have ended that movie.
Hey, never seen a metal chess piece in my life before. So interesting.
Yeah, God bless. It's mostly ceramic or wood,
Mm-hmm.
but
Or marble,
also,
if you've got a nice
yeah,
set.
yeah. Also, like one of those park chess sets wouldn't have like really really nice chess pieces like that. I don't think.
Maybe they'd be metal just because they have to sit out in the rain. I don't know. Not really sure. Never played chess in a park before.
Yeah, I kind of want to visit like a chess park.
One time I was walking down the hallway at college, and there was like the chess people, like the chess club or something, and they're like, "Hey man, you
Talk
wanna?"
to them.
He's like, "Hey, okay, but this is a good story though." He's like, "Hey man, you wanna play me in chess? I'm a grandmaster." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So guess what? Beat him in 3 minutes. Not even
Dude,
that
I
good.
thought
Yeah.
I thought he was the grandmaster, dude.
He's like, "Yeah, I'm a grandmaster level at chess." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I could not.
Yeah, I feel like I would have to challenge him as well.
If you lost, whatever, he's grandmaster. But if you win,
Yeah,
he's grandmaster.
Yeah, exactly. So now you have this story where you're like, I beat a self-proclaimed grandmaster at chess.
Well, I don't know if he played the 1,500 games required to be a grandmaster, but maybe he did. I don't know.
Here's the thing: it's like one of those things where, even though you spent that many hours doing something, that doesn't mean that you're good at it. He was a grandmaster, but he just is no good.
Yeah, that's hard to say in those situations.
Yeah.
But dude,
want to talk about Werner?
Dude looked like he was like 16, so I'm like, okay, grandmaster, here we go. Yeah, Werner Herzog, fucking the wild man, has returned.
Okay, so film. Werner Herzog, he's how long has Werner Herzog been alive? Like,
I would venture a guess 70 to 80 years.
70 to 80 years, too long to be alive, I think. And now he's getting to a point because like Werner Herzog,
74.
You know, he's a critically acclaimed director, made some classics.
Some of the greatest movies of all time.
Fitzcarraldo, is that what that's called? Fitzcarraldo. Yep. Grizzly Man, so good, dude. Grizzly Man is so great. So he's often considered. Did he make Nosferatu the Vampire? Like the 70s version?
Fucking did. Yeah, the 70s version.
Ooh, that one's good too. So obviously this is a guy who knows his way around film. Or does he? Is the question that I have.
Yeah, but I mean, this is fucking bananas. Like obviously this is insane shit. But that's like but that's not really that weird for Werner Herzog. He's always been a madman and he's always been making fucking crazy existential shit. But this is something completely new and bamboozling.
This movie is called Salt and Fire, and it stars Veronica Ferres of Pay the Ghost fame and Michael Shannon, who of course we hate. Now, after he made this movie, Werner Herzog was like, Michael Shannon is the greatest actor of his generation. Mm-hmm. And obviously over here at Movie Epidemic, we don't agree with that. We think Michael Shannon is terrible.
We're going to have to disagree with that.
Yeah, we're going to have to disagree. But like, apparently people think he's good.
Zod's neck.
Yeah, and then it's like, the thing is that like we're sitting over here like Michael Shannon is the worst actor on the planet, and then the Academy is all better nominate him for an acting award. Mm-hmm. Why do people think this man is good? He's granted he's the best he's ever been in this movie, but still quite bad. Granted.
Like that's a weird thing where like I feel like something like Werner Herzog, like this is Werner Herzog attempt at comedy too, by the way. This is like he thinks this movie's hilarious. Like this is he builds this as a comedy thriller.
Are you for real? Like is that real?
100% serious. Werner Herzog thinks this movie's fucking hilarious when he read the script.
Hold on, I gotta pull this up. Well, he wrote the script himself. Yep, you're right. It is billed as a thriller comedy. So it's not funny, just so you guys know. I couldn't even see Herzog, where. Yeah, I couldn't even see where you would like find comedy in this movie. Like
the idea of kidnapping someone and then stranding them, and then hey, dude, here's my first question. Okay, so Michael Shannon kidnaps this doctor who's studying this flat salt area with a volcano under it or whatever. He kidnaps her and then takes her there where she was going in the beginning.
And then he strands her there for a week with his own children.
2 blind boys. That's correct.
2 blind boys. And then I got a lot to say about this movie because it's baffling. So that's what this movie is about.
Bamboozle number 1.
This girl, she's a doctor, and she gets kidnapped by Michael Shannon, who does exactly what we just said. He keeps her in there, but while she's like at his house and he's like holding her captive there,
he just rambling like a madman. It's just Werner Herzog. It's just Werner Herzog, like what, like a stream of consciousness. Like clearly they were just on set, and Werner Herzog is like, okay, I need you to say this about the state of the world and the fire and the volcano underneath the salt flat and how it will change the world. And say that you're a CEO or something. And like I feel like it's just them riffing on, like ideas that Werner Herzog brought to the table most of the time.
Like the crazy thing is that this movie clearly its themes are that like you have to look at your situation from every possible perspective. That's like the theme of this movie. Sure. But it doesn't really mean anything because he strands her in the desert with 2 blind boys. And it's like, how can you look at that positively? How can you look at that from a positive perspective? And then, oh man, okay, so they're in the compound. When they're in the compound, dark filmmaking, really bland, colorless, really uninteresting to look at. It gets a little bit more interesting to look at once we hit the desert scenes, I think.
Salt flats are fucking awesome. Like, why didn't he just make a documentary where he filmed those for like fucking 48 minutes and then just had him have a talking head for another 20 minutes?
But like, to me, like a lot of it feels like Werner Herzog, clearly, like we mentioned earlier, he's a classic film director, but he's got like sort of these classic film directing techniques that he refuses to update for modern cinema. So it's just like, it feels like a movie that should have come out in like the early 70s or like early to late 70s.
If he would have released this around the time that he did Agaria and Fitzcarraldo, people would have been hailing this like those movies because they're just as insane as this. I know you've not seen his older kind of film stuff, but they're just as insane as this, and they all have like a some sort of ecological message, right? Like because those 2 are about the rainforest, and this one's about South America also. So similar, but like this one's clearly like just like he's just like not even. He's just letting people talk.
It's preachy, it's preachy too. Like just so you know, like you are gonna feel bad for the salt flats by the end of this movie. And you're gonna be like, who's poisoned the water hole? You know, like it's one of those movies. It's just like, stuff just starts happening and there's absolutely zero explanation. And maybe that's where Werner Herzog is finding the comedy, and how like absolutely perplexing of a concept this is. Let's talk about we talked about Michael Shannon and how like I don't think he's a good actor, and apparently Werner Herzog disagrees with me, but he is Meryl Streep compared to Veronica Ferres, because Veronica Ferres is the worst actress. She botches a lot of her lines and they just keep going.
It's like they did one take. Like that's what I feel like so many times they did one take because they're like, oh, we only have so much light in this fucking desert. Let's do one take.
There's like a scene in particular that like super bothered me, and like I don't even know why it was in the movie, but like there's a scene where she walks in and Michael Shannon is hanging out with a bird. He's got like a bird on his in a cage or whatever.
It's a really good scene.
And like the bird goes rah, and then it's a bird sound, and then there is clearly a human voice pretending to be a parrot saying like philosophical stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, my parrot." Like it's clearly a human voice. It's like, rah!
See, now that I laughed at, that I get. That's a good joke.
that I was losing my mind, because like the crazy thing is that while the person who supposedly the parrot is talking, the parrot is still making sounds. So you're like, oh, you're not gonna edit out that sound the parrot made.
Well,
so
that's
it's
what, like I was wondering if like Michael Shannon was actually doing that voice, like because it sounded like he was trying to do like a mime type thing, or like a fucking, what are those calls, like Jeff Dunham, like the fucking ventriloquist.
The ventriloquism. Yeah, like I was so positive, and like the audio isn't even like mapped to like the location of the parrot on screen. Like the parrot is on the right hand of the screen, and the voice sounds like it's coming from the left. So it feels like it's gonna pan over, and you're gonna see the person who's imitating the parrot, or like trying to get the parrot to say this dumb shit. But then it doesn't, and it's like, oh yeah, that the parrot was just talking, and it's like, okay. Oh my goodness. There is like, as crazy as it is, buried in this movie, there is some really decent dialogue. Like most of it means absolutely nothing, but there is a line that I wrote down because I was like, I really like that line. Where Michael Shannon, he's talking about absolutely nothing when he says this, by the way. He's just he's saying something, but then he says something about like, a wise man once said that it's okay to be afraid of the dark. The real tragedy is when men are afraid of the light. And it's like, damn, that's actually pretty good. That's good writing, right?
But it's clearly just Werner Herzog rambling about something, right? Like,
yeah, actually, Werner Herzog, he had an idea when he wrote that line.
Well, because like he is like a super like ecological guy, and like he did the volcano documentary recently.
Yeah,
and he did like the other one that was pretty good that he did recently was like that one on technology. And this is like stuff that he like tussles with. Like this is what his brain thinks about all the time. But like he didn't make it into a script really. It was just like ramblings.
Like this, honestly, I would be more thrilled to see Werner Herzog just do like an educational movie, like similar to what like Al Gore did with An Inconvenient Truth.
You could just film fucking Werner Herzog rambling, sitting on a stage or something, and that would be at least doubly as entertaining as this fucking movie.
Then like he takes her out into the desert. He leaves her there with the kids, and you're like, oh shit, dude, this movie's actually about to get interesting. And then guess what? Like it's crazy. Like it feels like it's about to ramp up, and you're like, oh, they're gonna have to go through the salt flats, and it's gonna be like a journey through the desert.
They literally
like,
just hang out there for a week. That's what they do.
Yeah, and they play sorry, and they cook rice, and it's like, what the fuck? Like, why am I seeing that?
See, at least in Aguria, it's like there's like 900 monkeys attacking Klaus Kinski, and you're like, well, this is fucking stupid, but like really interesting.
But the craziest thing about this movie, actually, no, there's two craziest things about this movie because this movie's wild. There's like a character named Kraus in this movie.
I love Kraus. Where's Kraus?
Like,
it's fucking awesome.
Like,
I love that guy.
He's in a wheelchair, and like sometimes he'll just stand up, and she's like, I thought you were like in a wheelchair, and he's like, nah, just when I feel like it. It's like, all right, you got me, Werner. That's pretty good content. But the crazy,
you know who that guy is? Lawrence.
No,
Lawrence
I do not.
Krauss. He's really just a theoretical physicist. He's like one of those guys that hangs out with Neil deGrasse Tyson and Richard Dawkins and shit. Like,
oh wow,
he was in.
That actually makes sense.
He was in the last documentary about technology, and I guess they just became friends after that.
I mean, like as soon as that happens, you're like, man, I'm just gonna hang out with Werner, and if he's got work for me, he's got work for me, you know.
I was on like Joe Rogan's podcast. That's why I knew who he was. I'm like, oh, that's like that guy's actually just a physicist.
But like the absolute number one craziest and most nonsensical thing about this movie is that no less than like maybe 6 or 7 times somebody just starts going on a rant about aliens.
Werner loves aliens. Like that's a little known fact about Werner. He absolutely loves talking about aliens.
Like people just start going off about aliens, and you're like, oh, I thought this was an ecological film. What's going on here? And like the last shot of the movie is like Kraus stands up out of his wheelchair, puts a bottle of champagne into the wheelchair, spins it out into the desert. It's like, it's bait for aliens. And that's how the movie ends, dude. It's crazy.
That ending is wild, dude. It's so like at that point I'm like, this might actually be a good movie. This might actually be the best movie ever made. Like that's where I was debating at that point.
Here's the thing: is this like I sure didn't like it. I gave this a 1-star review, but like,
I also did.
I feel like if I watched it 4 or 5 times, it might sneak its way up to a 5-star.
It might be the best movie of all time. I don't know. That's the thing with Herzog, right? Like, because like the first time you watch Agoria, it's like just nothing. It's just like Klaus Kinski like in the Amazon River on a raft with monkeys, and you're like, what the fuck is this movie? And you watch it again, and you're like, oh, I see. This is the greatest movie ever made.
Yeah, so you know what? We might have to go for a redux on this one and check it out again at some point, because maybe this movie is amazing and maybe we totally missed
We
it.
might just have to just start watching only Herzog movies and like just trying to decode this shit, because there's a lot to this.
Yeah, we'll just become Werner Herzog, we'll just become studiers of Werner Herzog's brain, and then eventually we'll meet Werner Herzog and we'll be able to just know what he's gonna say. And
Dude,
shit.
Herzog would come on this podcast. I guarantee that. He goes on so many podcasts and just like talks to them.
We'll be like, hey, we have a podcast. It's all about the ecological state of the planet, and he's like, oh shit, I'm in.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah, this movie's really bad. I think I would not recommend this movie to absolutely anybody.
It was very
but
specific.
like we said,
I do like that Werner Herzog has gone from the ugliest man of all time, Klaus Kinski, to the ugliest man of the 21st century, Michael Shannon. So that seems like an obvious evolution.
Well, like, I don't understand why he would build a repertoire with Michael Shannon. Like, is Werner Herzog blind? Can he not see how talentless Michael Shannon is?
I don't know. Well, see, the thing about Michael Shannon is I think he just works with all these directors so that he can have it on his resume.
Yeah, that actually makes sense.
Like,
yeah, how you even worked with Zack Snyder? So how you landing all this?
Yeah, I don't know.
So, hiring Michael Shannon is a mistake because he is just using you. That's what I would think, anyways.
I literally hate him, but like I think I would like hanging out with him. He seems fucking kind of awesome.
Yeah, dude. Didn't he wear like a Hawaiian shirt and sandals on the red carpet?
Yeah, he always does fucking shit that I like, the exact shit I would do.
Yeah, you should just start doing that, and you're like, I'm Michael Shannon, but less ugly.
He was wearing this shirt on the fucking red carpet. Like, that's how fucking bananas that dude is.
Yeah, dude. He might be the craziest person of all time, which actually makes sense of why he's friends with Werner Herzog, because Werner Herzog also one of the craziest human beings on the planet.
Fucking, he's a wild human being. People forget about how fucking wacky that dude is. Like, especially if you've not seen like a lot of his stuff. Like, I understand why you think Werner Herzog is crazy after this, but it's like barely scratching the surface. Dude's been a wild man for 70 years.
Yeah, this is one of my first offerings, of course, aside from Grizzly Man, because everybody's seen Grizzly Man. It's like one of my first offerings.
I've seen a lot of the docs, but when it comes to his actual filmmaking stuff, it's fucking all crazy, dude. It's like if Terrence Malick like didn't like because Terrence Malick actually has like a plan. When Werner Herzog goes into a movie, he has no plan. He's like, I'm just gonna fucking make something.
Didn't he actually get like 100 people to hoist a boat over a mountain for Fitzcarraldo?
Oh, like a couple thousand people. It's a fucking 3-story boat, fucking 15,000 pounds.
Dude, what a fucking madman. I love it. I gotta see Fitzcarraldo. I've heard that movie's fucking awesome.
Dude, it's so fucking awesome. And it's like one of those movies where you're like, I have no idea what the fuck this is, but it's the greatest thing I've ever seen. It's more like it has more of a storyline than Agaria, but like still fucking wild film.
You know what? I'm gonna throw it on the watch list.
I saw it on Vice when, you know, like that Vice News or whatever, they got like their own channel.
Yeah.
And they like really late at night, they play like awesome fucking movies. One night they were doing a Werner Herzog night and they played fucking Fitzcarraldo. I was like, oh shit.
Gotta tune in. So, yeah, I would say not of this movie, but maybe give it some time, you know, like maybe it'll become a masterpiece.
Classic. This might be a new classic. Yeah. We don't know yet.
It's tough to say. It's either a new classic or a movie we'll forget about in 3 days.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it this time around, but
next time,
very possible I watch this again, and I think it's the best movie of all time.
So on the next episode of this podcast, we're going to be finishing off Resident Evil. Resident Evil's done, right? Maybe.
It's called the last chapter, but what does that mean?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the fourth of like 13 Friday the 13th movies was called The Final Chapter.
Yeah.
So we're going to be watching Resident Evil, the final chapter. We're also going to be watching The Space Between Us. Don't worry, Gary Oldman is the worst he's ever been in this movie.
Especially, I bet he's really like into hating the gays in this one.
Well, like the crazy thing is like when you watch this movie, it's like, why did Gary Oldman do
so much?
You're like, why would Gary Oldman do this movie? And then you remember that he hates the gays, and you're like, oh, I get it, because literally nobody else will hire him.
Dude, you know who's fucking making every movie? Fucking rich gay dudes. They're producing all this shit. Like, you can't hire Gary Oldman anymore.
I like that Mel Gibson can't get people to produce his movies anymore because he hates the Jews, so he just literally just funds them all himself.
Yeah, he's like, I got so much money.
He's like, I don't need no Hollywood Jews. I got all the money. They already gave me their money. And then
you got,
of course,
one of the greatest films of all time, as far as
dude, did you know that I am in fact Desmond Doss?
When we redo our top 100 of all time,
you think
Mel Gibson will have at least 4 on there?
Yeah, dude, Mel Gibson's gonna land a few spots.
I like him again. I don't know.
Dude, the crazy thing about Mel Gibson is like he actually is like fucking amazing. Like Braveheart is like actually an incredible movie. Like it's super good.
I really like Apocalypse too.
Yeah, I've never seen that one, but even like Passion of the Christ, like I'm not a religious person. That's a pretty good movie though. Violent,
it's
violent
is.
I
don't really like the content, but
like when you watch
directing wise, it's pretty good.
When you watch Passion of the Christ, you're like, I'm not sure if Mel Gibson is super into Jesus or if he's
sequel,
just,
which is crazy.
He is doing a sequel.
Well,
that's confirmed. No, I'm pretty sure that got confirmed, didn't it?
Well, it's confirmed that he's going to do a sequel, but like that means anything. Like when is he going to do that?
Well, no, it's like I'm pretty sure it has a release date and a title and everything. Hold on, let me see. I could have sworn. Yeah, here it is. Passion of the Christ, Resurrection. It's the fucking title.
Yeah, it has an IMDb page. It hasn't started filming though.
Okay, all right. I wouldn't imagine it start. I hope that he does in fact make that. But like with Passion of Christ, it's like I can't tell if Mel Gibson's super into Jesus or if he's just a real fucking sicko. Either way, I love it.
Yeah, that's true. Could be either.
So make sure you tune in next week, and of course, thank you guys for everything. Our downloads have been really good lately. It's all thanks to you guys. We're gonna have to start. We're gonna have to start throwing out names, dude. We're gonna have to start throwing out names.
No, absolutely not.
So thank you everybody who
to a snowball effect, and we can't have that. Follow me on Twitter at last cool dude. Tweet at me,
and you can tweet at me at Chadley the movie.
He won't.